Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of The Eye Opener. This episode name is going to be called The Heart Opener. Today I am here with my mother for the day after and get to know her and what her life was like and get a chunk of Lori Martin. Would you like to introduce yourself? Yes? That's how this works. You've been practicing for this.
Hi, I'm Lori Martin, Megan Martin's mother.
Okay. Alrighty. So, what's your full name and where do you come from? How did you get here?
My full name is Lori Ann Bartlett Martin. And I moved here after I graduated high school in 1987. I moved here on a whim with my friend. Not really a whim, she invited me to come. I really didn't know I was moving permanently. I thought I was just visiting. So, And then when my parents didn't bring me home, I figured I was staying. I was supposed to go to the University of Stevens Point that August, but I guess my mother felt that since forever, instead of that I was just visiting, I was excited about going to school, that I was more excited about having freedom. And then I met my husband the day I moved here. So that kind of changed everything anyway.
Okay. And before we get into more of that, what are some of the places you come from? Like where
I
were
was
you born?
in Port Hueneme. I was born in Ventura, California.
Okay.
And we lived in Oxnard, and I went to school in Port Hueneme, and my parents worked in Port Hueneme. And then my mother quit working after she had us and had a daycare. And my dad worked at the CB base.
Okay.
And then my dad got injured in, I think, somewhere around 1976 or 77. Okay. And so the government medically retired him, and they didn't feel like they could. The lifestyle was, we had a good childhood as far as financially. We had vacations, and my parents made their house beautiful, and they bought only the finest things. They were doing well. And then when he got hurt and they made him retire, then my mother would come from a farm lifestyle. My father didn't really care for that, but he pretty much did whatever my mother wanted. And so he looked at it as an opportunity to do things organically and thought that would be financially good. But anyway, my mother wasn't interested in making money off the farm. She was interested in having a hobby farm.
Hobby farm.
My father couldn't afford that. So that means she named everything, and my father was horrified.
She pretty much wanted her own farm bill. She wanted to keep all her animals and just keep getting
She named all the chickens and all the goats and everything and would not kill anything, and my father just couldn't. He didn't know how to handle that. That was not the plan. But they did teach me about organics and working hard and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So moving at age 10 from Southern California, where we had cable and I had lots of friends and parties. My parents had card parties, and we went to Disneyland all the time, and just my aunts and uncles all lived there, and on my street, a lot of them. Moving to Wisconsin, where we didn't know anybody, on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, was horrifying for me. And I remember when I was still in Utah, when we had the transition from California to Wisconsin. We were there for 6 months until the house was ready in Wisconsin. I remember feeling so nervous about it that I like snapped in my brain and said it was a big transition in my life.
Mhm.
Because I remember feeling like this explosion in my brain and saying, I'm going to make everyone like me from now
Mhm.
on. Because it's very scary when you're young and you're going to school
Oh yeah.
that you don't know people.
Mhm.
And so I said, I'm going to make everyone like me. And that's exactly what I did.
Excuse
I
that.
just changed my whole personality.
What do you think was the biggest transition from California and Wisconsin, being away from your family, or the lifestyle?
I was scared out in Wisconsin. There's no city lights, there's wildlife. Everything about Wisconsin horrified me. I was already a scared child anyway because of my mother, but when then you're put from a neighborhood in California where you're skating and riding your bikes and playing with your cousins and friends, and then you're moved out into the middle of nowhere with nobody around you,
Mhm.
and now you're having to deal with snakes and hearing coyotes out and wolves out in your property. That was very scary for me hearing them. I was horrified every day. I was horrified to go outside.
But you don't feel like that now about Wisconsin.
I do.
You do?
Yes, because there's no city lights and there's bear. Now the tree line is right at our house instead of, you know,
Yeah.
quite a distance away through a field. So it's worse because now they're right in your window.
Oh my god.
There's a herd of deer that go through every night, at least 20, if not more. I think we counted 22 that one night. So there's at least 20, 25 deer every night, that's not scary. But having bear and
Coyotes and
coyotes and wolves.
probably porcupines. Porcupines would scare me. I'm not
No,
gonna
there's
lie.
porcupines everywhere there.
That's what
They
I
don't
mean.
scare you
Porcupines would
though.
scare
My
me.
mother used to use a four-wheeler and drive slowly behind them as they ran from her, but they run very slow. And that was her way of looking at the big old porcupine. No, she didn't find it mean. She was just looking at him. She'd follow them all over the field. They just be running.
Oh my
They
god.
weren't running like,
Scared.
bad out of hell. They were slowly trotting, and she just slowly following behind them, just enjoying looking at them.
Oh my god. Well, that's kind of funny then.
Well, she loved having all that wildlife. One time I was walking from the garden pond area with my grandma and my sister. We were walking up the path that was mowed, and on the side was grass that was very tall, like I would say a little more than knee high. And my grandma said, "Look!" And we looked down to the right of us, and there's a fox sitting right there, a little fox,
Oh my god. That's
right in the
horrible.
right by us. Like we walked right by him, but we didn't stop and like say anything. She just told us to look, and we looked at him, and we just kept walking.
Well, it's the same with like how you taught me, like when we saw deer at Micanopy, you guys said just be quiet and like look, and we saw like the whole thing of deer.
She put lacy curtains up so that you could see through, because when we were young, she realized that if you had curtains and you opened them, then they would run away. So when she'd hear them between the garage and the house, it was right by her bedroom, she would just look out the window,
Mhm.
and then she could see them, because out there nobody could see in and there's nobody there. If anyone drove up the driveway, dogs would bark.
Yeah.
So it was very secluded. That part I loved. But when the bears were out there and stuff, that scared me.
Tell me some of the people differences from California to Wisconsin, like differences in people.
California had that cool vibe, that Sanford and Son, that 70s show. That's what it was like.
Okay.
Very much like that 70s show where we would go to card parties. My dad had friends, black, white, Mexican. I have Mexicans in my family. They're all, so we had a culture, a lot of diverse cultures in California. And then when I moved to Wisconsin, it's all white. And I hate to say it, but being that it's all white, I did not realize the racialness of it until I become an adult and moved away from home and came here where it was very racial.
Yeah.
Did I realize that there was even any racialness in Wisconsin at all because my parents did not discuss that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I came here with no opinion of race.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I first moved here, everyone called me was a cracker, and they called me a Yankee
Yankee.
because I
You're a
did not
northerner?
have yes, because I did not have the opinion of culture the way they do here.
Mm-hmm.
When I first met, I had my own friends, not my husband's friends that I met through partying with him, but were these two black girls that worked at Eckert's up here in Rosemont, where I worked, and these girls were of a certain religion. Back then I was too immature to even have known to ask, but
Mm-hmm.
they wore dresses and their hair was done very nice, and they were just of some sort of religion where they had to wear dresses all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they were really sweet, but their names were very African like.
Mm-hmm.
So I come home. I was so excited to tell everyone that on Saturday they were coming to pick me up. We were going to the mall. And these was my first friends that weren't friends that I met through my husband.
Okay.
So I come in and I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to the mall with so and so and so and so. They're coming to pick me up at 10 o'clock. My mother-in-law looks at me. She's like, no, they're not. I'm like, excuse me?
Oh my god.
You can't have them come here. Why? Why? You know, but I was very shy back then to her because she was so cranky old
Scary,
redneck.
probably.
She was very scary, very blunt redneck lady. And I'm like, what? And she says, what will the neighbors think? You can't bring them here. I'm like, oh Lord, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I was horrified. I didn't know how to handle it, and I couldn't associate with them because I did not know how to tell them.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell them.
It would
I didn't
probably
even.
be
I've
an
never been
overwhelming
faced with that in my
situation for
life.
anyone.
I was not faced with hearing what I was hearing here from all the neighbors and how they behaved regarding other people. But now that I've come away from Wisconsin and I've seen the reality that up there, there's a reason why there's not a lot of black people up there. I think
Yeah, probably.
they have more rebel flags on there or Confederate flags on their barns than I've ever seen down here. It is purely a one race area. I just didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
It's not for me. I've never had those feelings. So
Well, it's like the same with here in Florida. Like, I never knew how racist our neighborhood was until I started getting older and realizing how racist our neighborhood was. Like, getting a crush on a little black boy when I'm younger, and then having everyone question why I want to be in a relationship with him or why I question my attraction toward him. And at the time, I never understood.
I thought he was
and now,
adorable.
oh yeah, I remember you loved him. But I'm talking about like other people in the
I know,
family. I'm
it's
not going to
true.
address, but
That's
there's a lot
right,
of
it's
people
true.
who like didn't care for that, as well as some other relationships I've had with
Yep.
other things going on in my life.
And it's ludicrous.
Yeah,
And I don't play into it. And what's worse with that, that was addressed even more over the years, hearing my neighbors as I knew them more and more and more personally, and I really realized where they come from and how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point of your grandfather and them, they just tried to keep it under the guise of being a Christian. They're the worst Christians I ever met.
I know.
And then they made it even worse. Listen, anyone that prefaces I'm not prejudiced are usually prejudiced.
Yeah.
I'm not prejudiced, but all the Spanish and all the black people, and whatever they said, coming down. They're the ones that are driving so fast in the neighborhood. They're the ones on welfare.
Yeah.
And really, because quite frankly, y'all are white trash.
Yeah.
Y'all are the biggest white trash I ever saw in my life. Now, some people were, but some were. Some that were racist weren't really white trash. They were white trash, but they were prejudiced because they were raised that way.
Yeah.
And they sincerely could not differentiate their white trashery from the people that they were making fun of. And it just made me sick. So it really come to a head when Obama became elected for president and then become president, because those very same people that wanted to say he was the Antichrist.
Yeah.
You stupid fuck.
I know. That
I can
was
swear,
very
right?
stupid. Yeah, you can swear.
You stupid fucking idiots. Like you don't remember that I've known you for 25 fucking years and heard your mouth every day. Every day. And all the prejudice junk coming out of it. And you're going to tell me that you don't like Obama because he's black? Has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You lying motherfuckers. You racist, prejudiced, fucking bigot assholes. And I called them all out on my Facebook too. You better believe it. Because it gave me an opportunity. You lying son of a bitches. You want to say this stuff when in fact you're racist. That's the only reason why you don't like it. He's smarter than you by far.
Mm-hmm.
His family is more fucking got it together than you ever will. Or any one of your family members. And I don't care about politics. It was just obvious.
Mm-hmm.
They're Harvard educated, or where I don't know where he went to, but I know Michelle went to Harvard, I believe. But I think they both did. But fuck it. It doesn't matter. They're way more educated in one pinky than these people that were wanting to cry about them, saying in the face of saying it religiously. You lying fuckers. Whatever religion you're in, I do not want to be a part of. You hypocrite bastards. Well, it's true. It's disgusting when you are not prejudiced to hear people that you and everyone you're around. It's not my choice. I was here because I was married.
Yeah.
But it was not even to the point of your grandfather when his sister come, Aunt Betty.
Mm-hmm.
To hear what she has to say about the quote coloreds and why they're the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
That they teach, you should hear it. If you heard it, you'd laugh. Oh, they teach them to have babies early on. Really? They teach them? They're encouraging that. You really think that? Because you know what? You know, the only black people are the only ones that have babies at 12 and 13 years old, right? No. There's plenty of white people in the world that have fucked up.
Yes.
But I'll guarantee you that in certain areas of the country where they are treated like shit, like the Southern Bible Belt is one of them, where there's an area where due to carried on from slavery up into the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was the grandparents taking care of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Because in those areas, there's no good teachers for the schools. The schools are failing. There's no businesses living in those towns.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cotton Belt. The grandparents are taking care of everybody with no money and no education because they picked cotton in the 60s, in the 70s, in the early 80s. Their kids pretty much stayed in trouble or were on drugs. A lot of them in that area, there was no potential for them. So people can say what they want, but that area was kept down because what teacher's going to go and work in that area knowing there's no uh, uh, good salary for those schools. They're failing schools.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of investing in them, they left them to rot. So I feel sorry for them. A lot of people want to say that there is equality. There is equality for the minorities in this country. Now, nobody can come say that or isn't. But there are certain areas that are still deprived of that. And if you're a family that has come from that, it's very hard to make enough money to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
When in that area there's hardly any jobs. Okay? So
Yeah.
I know it's probably improved now. That's been 20 years since I last looked into that. But I am very sympathetic to that because imagine if it were you and you're sitting here in a shitty trailer with hardly any running water.
Yeah.
You don't have hardly any food. Of course, you don't have much government assistance, but you might have a little bit. And you were having to watch your children because one of the kids went to jail. I'm not saying feel sorry for the kid that went to jail. I'm saying feel sorry for the grandparents that are trying to take care of them with no education and no money.
Yeah.
That only pick cotton for years. So I do have a lot of thoughts about that. It's hard to talk about now because a lot of things have changed since then.
Well, also it's
But
hard
there
to
was
get
a
any
serious
feelings
thing
out with
up to
people
15.
getting like too offended.
It's
like,
hard, and I'm not right, and I don't care about offending people. It's a fact. It's a fact that in those areas, it is kept down because nobody can invest in it.
Mhm.
You can't get super wonderful teachers, and the teachers that are there are good, but you're not going to get the super good ones that are going to invest their time in because they're not hardly paid anything.
Yeah.
They can't invest in the students as far as it's bad enough on good schools when the government doesn't give them enough, or if their state doesn't give them enough to provide for each student, especially the ones that are poor. But when you're a poor area, you're fucked, like fucked.
Mhm.
And then you're going to say they are given all the same entitlement. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay? It takes a lot to rise up out of that. So up until, I don't know about now, but for several years ago, it was still that way in some areas down in the South. It's probably everywhere, but primarily in those areas that used to be the Cotton Belt. So yes, I'm very sympathetic to that. That bothers me.
But I feel like I've heard a lot of stuff like going on right now with them trying to just defend racial figures, like keeping statues up and keeping
Well, no, the
areas where
racists
it's
are,
like,
but they won't tell you they're racist because they're going to say that they're
Yeah.
racist. Okay,
yeah.
they're hypocrites. They're racist. They don't like black people. They don't like other people. They want a supreme race. They're fucking racist.
No.
And then they want to say, well, I have neighbors that are black. Really? Because I'll guarantee you that if we talk privately with you, I will see exactly what you think about
I
those black
know.
races. Because that's exactly what I saw here with every one of these racist motherfuckers around me. All of them. Every one of the neighbors here are racist. Or were racist. Well, they are still.
I know. You can tell. It's obvious. You can really tell when someone's really racist or not, to be honest. Like, it's like, because,
You tell when you're talking to them privately.
oh, yeah.
You don't tell. You're not going to tell in a situation where they're having to shine. You're going to find out when you're talking to them over 25 years of friendship what their real, true personality is. You know, when they slip up out of their Christianity and especially if they're around some serious racist people, which I've known many, and the lies that come out of them, but they believe it. And that's the thing. It's a lie to me. But in their eyes, it is a reality. That's the problem.
No.
It is deeply ingrained as a source of pride for them. That's the kind of people that vote for Trump, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Stupid people. Sorry. Well, I'm sorry.
It's a kind of sorry, not sorry situation. So, here, I guess this is a good point to put in that disclaimer. So, here's a disclaimer for these videos. All eye-opening episodes and subjects, they are about people's differing opinions. If you do not like my mother's opinion or anyone I interview on the show's opinion, there are going to be many others with different and differing opinions. So, do not get offended. it is fine. This whole purpose of this show is to open your eyes to other people's viewpoints and how they feel and why they feel this way. So I hope you will excuse anything that we say that comes out either maybe as ignorant to you or just disagreeable. But if you do not like, feel free to tune out to something else, and we'll have another. That's the whole point.
I'm not ignorant. I
want people to
That's
speak
the difference.
truthful. I don't want them on the show lying, because that's the whole point of this show.
I'm not a hypocrite. Because if I could tell you what racist things irritate me, but that's not the point. The point is, I'm just saying how hypocritical people that I've known in my life that would consider themselves my friend, that are so racist that it disgusts me, and I don't want to associate with them.
Yeah.
I limit my association because we are not. I learned I don't have to be friends like that. That I can know people forever, and I can still like them, but we can't discuss certain things because when I hear it come out of their mouth, it makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
But they firmly believe it. All right, they discuss it as though they're right, and in their life and lifestyle, they are right. But they obviously cannot see the hypocrisy because every single one of them are laden with being primarily a Baptist person.
Yeah.
Now, I know Baptists aren't supposed to be racist, so something's wrong.
Yeah.
They're hypocrites, both in their belief system. They don't follow through with their belief system. Mm-hmm. There's a couple Catholics, but I ain't never heard an atheist tell me. I've never heard a racist atheist. I'm 51 years old. I can honestly say that.
I haven't really heard any. I've never heard that either, because usually atheists, I think, are more open to things because they're open to the idea of not really having a God.
That is exactly
right.
So
they're open to the more ideas of concepts and like. This isn't like pro-atheism at all. I'm not an atheist.
No,
I'm more of a.
I'm just saying
neutralist, I guess.
That the people that you would think atheists or people that do not believe in God, you would think would be this ignorant and warped about races. And in fact, they're not. They don't give a shit. To each his own. That's the point I'm making. It's not about whether atheism is good or bad. It's about the one thing that these people who are racist are afraid of is atheists.
Yeah.
And yet the atheists are better. Sorry. Because listen, if you're not going to follow through on your religion, fuck you.
Fine. Okay. How about this? How about we get into this question? Since we're on the topic of religion, and I want to talk about it as well, because my viewpoints on religion, you already know, are very open. They're not very anything. I don't really believe there's a God, but I also believe there could be something that made us. But I don't know. It's a big confusing thing for me. So what are your viewpoints on religion? What do you like and what don't you like about religion? And what would you say your religion is, if you have one at all?
Up to 2012, I believed in God. But because of the way I was raised, I always questioned a lot of stuff. For instance, as a child, my dad had me go to a private school in California till I left at 10 years old. It was a Baptist private school. So I went to chapel. I had religious views. Okay, I had to learn scriptures. I went to Sunday school. Even though my parents did not, my father was atheist and my mother was a Lutheran, apparently, but she never did anything with it. She never discussed it. My father questioned me constantly. So I would say, "Oh, come to chapel, please, Daddy. Oh, Daddy, I did all this." And he'd be like, "Lori, if there's a God, then how come I'm in so much pain? How come you're in so much pain after I hurt my back?" This is when I was older. "Lori, if there's a God, why do people die that you love? Lori, if there's a God." And he always said, he didn't tell me when I was little, but he waited until we moved to Wisconsin. And I wanted to go to church there. And he's like, "I am not taking you to church, but if you can find someone to take you, you can go as much as you want." I wanted to go to Vacation Bible School because everyone was going. And that area is nothing but churches and bars. So I was going to church, and I wanted to go to the Baptist church because I didn't know anything about Catholicism.
Okay.
All right, now, so my thought process about religion changed. Up to 2012, I went from being a Baptist to a Jehovah's Witness. I do firmly believe in Jehovah's Witness if I was going to believe in God and the Bible. That's the religion I would choose. It is beautiful. It's not the bullshit everyone talks about. That's all a lie to make them look bad. They're actually people that actually make a huge effort to study the different Bibles to see what's right. They actually follow the rules of religion based on the Bible. Now, that's what I'm talking about first. They follow the way Jesus went out and tried to express the points that he wanted to get across to everyone, which was loving each other, sharing about God's word, this and that and the other thing. The Jehovah's Witnesses do that. They try. They're not trying to get you to be a Jehovah's Witness. They're literally, really just trying to get you to know about God. They do not benefit financially for you to be a Jehovah's Witness. It's not about money. But because people are so put off by them, in the beginning, when it was very old school and the way they came across, it was very backwoods, old school.
Yeah.
So it was even hard for me when I was a kid. I'm like, dang, they're weird. But the Jehovah's Witnesses of now, they really try. They make a huge effort. They try not to be hypocrites. And many of the principles they apply are the same kind of principles you would apply with your children. For instance, I'll give you an example to help you understand. A lot of people want to say things about Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, they shun people. Really? All right. So if there's a kid down the street, I used to ask you guys this when you were 10 and 12 years old. If there's a child down the street that's 12 years old and you want to be their friend, but they're doing drugs, would you not think that it would be the right thing for me to do to have you avoid that child so that you do not get tempted to try that stuff and be put into the wrong influence? Is that not the loving thing to do? Well, if somebody does not want to be a Jehovah's Witness, then it's the loving thing to do to avoid that person if they're if they're falling short and they're pulling themselves away, to avoid that person so you don't, because you don't want to hurt them. So it's actually a loving act. All right. And most of the people that are a Jehovah's Witness that say stops going and they start smoking again or something, they don't want to hurt their fellow Jehovah's Witnesses. It's just the disgruntled people that make up stuff. Okay, with that said, as a loving parent, I would want you to avoid these things. Not because I think that person's a bad person, but because I want to steer you clear as a parent of possibly becoming affected by it.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, if I was believing in the Bible, I would say Jehovah's Witnesses. Not Catholicism, sucks, and not Baptist or Lutheran or none of them. Only Jehovah's Witnesses. Since 2012, and I realized that there is an inner universe and a different world in this world. That is an entirely different thought process and way of life that I was not aware of prior to that, and is not conducive with being in a religion that focuses on God. But maybe that taps into other things, Buddhism and all these things that tap in on just being a good person. And also can go negative, can be more dark.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a light quality to it. Just being a good person, trying not to hurt other people, trying to not have too much ego, which is the hardest thing in the world for me. And also just loving everybody for who they are and not trying to change them. That's the hardest thing. because religion does that. It wants to change you. So my viewpoint on religion has changed. The only thing that I still stand by is if you are in a religion and you firmly believe it and you follow it to your heart's best without being a hypocrite, I do appreciate that in a person. So if you're a Baptist person and you're raising your children that way and you're making an effort, you're not smoking, you're not drinking, you're trying, that I very much appreciate. It's the rest of it that I find ludicrous and hypocritical. So I do believe someone created us. I have no idea how it happened, but I do know that everything goes beyond the Bible by millions of years.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes the Bible situation a washout a little bit.
So can I ask you something kind of religiously controversial?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe there are any parts in the Bible that you believe were? Because there's this big thing, and I kind of believe it as well, that the Bible is written by people, and yes, it's supposed to be God's text, but there's a lot of things where it could have gotten missed text and like wrong and put off as almost like a story. Do you believe that there's anything in the Bible that could have been like what is the word I'm looking for? Constructed,
Yes.
like fake.
No, the way I look at it, now this is just off the cuff. It's not something I've sat and thought of to tell you. So I'm going to tell you my off the cuff thought.
Okay.
There are 3 major religions in this world, all of which have a Jesus type person, all of which use the same type of, have the same stories in them.
Mhm.
And they're all different cultures. So we know that some of those stories were correct, but they were written by people. But here's where the problem comes.
Okay.
One of the problems, and again, this is off the cuff.
Okay.
Once the Catholics got a hold of the Bible, they changed it so they could control people. They changed a lot of aspects of it. They took books out. They did all that.
Mhm.
If you look at the King James version, and if you have somebody that can speak Latin and all that and can look at the actual text, okay, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. Is they look at the actual text and they put it in context, and they use their brains. Okay,
Mhm.
whereas I use the Catholic example because they're the major one that really fucked it all up, and they put it for their own use. Okay, they're the ones that have the Pope and the revere saints and Mary. When the Bible itself says specifically, you do not put any
Worship
reverence
any other
in
idols.
anybody else except for God and Jesus. And Jesus, because he was his first son. Jesus was an angel.
Mhm.
All right. So basically, Catholic religion that made the Pope somebody special and he's nobody. They made Mary. They have all these martyrs and this bullshit you're supposed to pray to, which is all not in the Bible. But you have to understand, they believed in the Bible. For thousands, hundreds of years. I don't know how many years. Many years. The people that were Catholics didn't know what their Bible said because it was in a different language.
Mhm.
So they had to rely on the people possessing them, which were their Pope and priests, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry, but as a person that's not a Catholic, you can see where the hypocrisy of that is. There's a way to control people, which many and everyone says Catholics will say, "Oh, but look at how many Catholics there are in the world. There has to be something special to it." Oh, really? So if you weren't a Catholic, you got killed.
Okay, so because there was like hundreds of Nazis, that means it was a cool thing. That means it was a good thing for people
Mm.
because there were so many people on board
Right.
with Hitler. There were so many people on board with it, so that makes it okay. Not
Right.
really, no.
That's the point I'm making.
Hmm.
They were killing people in crusades. You were jailed or killed if you did not. Just look at all the Indians and the fucking different cultures that became Spanish, that became Catholics. They were forced.
Hmm.
And what did that bring them? Being forced by these religions, death, because they were being killed by their diseases they brought, and the lifestyle change and the food changes. That's all bullshit. All right, that's all very real. That the Catholics cannot acknowledge. They will not acknowledge it.
Hmm.
It is true history that they do not acknowledge. They were killing people.
Well, it's funny because back to my Hitler point, people don't acknowledge that Holocaust happened. People don't acknowledge all this shit this bad shit that happened.
Kings
and refuse to.
Kings changed religion based on their whim. They adapted like the Catholic religion because they could see that it could really. They adapted religion in general because they could see how it could
control people.
Having something to believe in. They wanted to be the person to be believed in, but they couldn't be revered in the same way. So they made laws so that they would be. All right. So therefore, religion has been fucked through the ages. So that's why when people say, "Oh, Jehovah's Witness, it only came around in 1900," no, that's just when smart people finally started realizing that they needed to look at the Bible. And yes, back then, some of them they were weird motherfuckers. Okay, they were. They were backwoods, and they tried to live like Jesus, and it didn't come off as pretty as fancy churches and fancy speaking people. But if you can look at their intent, of which I saw as a Jehovah's Witness, the intent, they literally are trying to be good people, and they try not to be hypocrites. That's why I will never say I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I don't ever want them to look at my behavior and people to say, "Oh, she's a Jehovah's Witness." That's a terrible religion. When in fact it's a beautiful. It's very. They're right on the most part of everything.
Yeah.
If you're looking at religion, but if you look at life as not a religious person, and you're looking at it from the eyes of somebody who knows about mystical things.
Thank you, Kaya. She said hello to you.
Hello.
Sorry, continue.
Because the Bible strictly goes against mystical things, because I believe mystical things come from Satan. They do. The inner world is not of God, it is of Satan, but it's based on how you view Satan. I don't know the logistics or the specifics. I know Satan was an angel just like Jesus is. We don't know the truth of really where he plays. But what I do see is that in good and bad prevails because bad is better. All right.
What do you think?
I don't mean bad is better in reality, but bad feels good. When we want to be rebellious and we want to do the things that go against the people that we think are trying to control us with all this religious good stuff. The one rainy thing about the devil, about Satan, is that he likes bad stuff. Yeah. All the fun stuff, sex, party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean this in just broad terms.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's a point that I've
every
noticed.
Religion says everything good, and people say this all the time, that everything good is bad when it comes to religion.
Yeah.
Everything good is bad. Like, oh, if you have sex for pleasure, that's bad. If you eat too much because you want to, if you eat just because you want to, that's gorging, that's bad, that's a sin. If you just wear a halter top, whatever that shows your belly, you're considered a whore.
If you're a sexual being, you're a bad person. If you can tap into your inner world and you can read minds, or you can see the future, those things are bad. Well, they are in a way, because you're not giving control to a God. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, it is a reality that he cannot deny. That's where the problem lies. It is reality. But when you're in a bubble of a religious frame of mind that has been imparted on you your whole life, sometimes it takes a huge eye opener I've got you a big bottle coming, by the way, this big.
Oh, I can't wait.
That big.
I can't
It's going to
wait.
be another, like, 8 days or something like that.
Okay, that'll be
Or
fun.
4 days. 4 days.
Okay, continue your thought.
5 days.
Okay.
And so my thought process on that is there is good and bad. There's good in the bad and there's bad in the good. There really is.
Mhm.
And so you have to find a balance because this world is made up of all those people. You just don't know it if you're not aware. Once you become aware, you cannot ever not be aware again. All right? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Once you become aware of an inner world and of a different viewpoint, you can't hide that viewpoint. You can't dismiss it ever. Now you have to, your thought process has changed forever.
Mhm.
And the truth is, I'm grateful for that. Because when I look back, and in my mind's eye, being a person that believed only one way in my safe little bubble, that is boring, but safe.
Right.
When you are, if you actively search for a meaning of life on your own, that is one viewpoint that you get. When it's imparted on you without you knowing, and your eyes are open without you knowing, there's a level of resentment there. Because I was perfectly happy in my bubble until that happened. Now I'm faced with having to learn about it. Something that was very scary.
Mhm.
Because in the religious terms, it is not, you're not supposed to dabble in mystical things or witchery things.
Yeah.
There is good in it and there is bad in it. But when you look at the scope of our world, we know for a fact that there are beings that were much smarter than us, that was using all of this information prior to religion,
Mhm.
making it bad. It was a way of life. Look at the pyramids. It is all energy based with crystal. It's a perfect story. The pyramids are made perfectly, and they weren't done by the slaves the way religion thinks they were. It's impossible.
Yeah.
These were done by intelligent human beings who, even inside the pyramids, had lights. That stuff is true.
Yeah.
They were not. They lived a simple life and were happy. All right? But we are not awake of that. Some of us are, but some are not. We have inside us these abilities that we are not in tune with because certain people want us to forget it. They want us to forget about our skills and abilities that all humans have access to, like telepathy, telekinesis, flying, flying in space. We can, we all have these abilities, but we were told to forget it. We were made to forget it. And now we have to remember it. Because the bad guys that are ruling this world right now know it all. They just don't want us to know it, which is why there's fluoride in the water to keep your pineal gland calcified, which is why religion put it as bad in the Bible and other places. And maybe it is bad, but the fact is, it is how we were. Okay? There were dinosaurs. There was a life before Jesus and before the first, before the um, Old Testament.
Mhm.
There was a world before that. There was millenniums of time on this earth, in this world. It's just all gone. And the memories are gone. But a lot of people know it. They tapped into the Akashic records. They tap into it and practice through the use of crystals and energy work and these things. We can heal our bodies ourselves if we learn. We can heal other people and animals. We can sustain ourselves with a healthy body using energy and never having to eat food.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
These things are facts.
Yeah.
I can't go back to the old normal religious life knowing this stuff because it's hypocritical from what you will be taught in any religion. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thought is there is another world and another universe that we all have to remember if we want to survive in the times coming. Because this year, this pandemic is the 2012 was an awakening time. Now this is another awakening time. And in about 9 more years, we're going to have something far worse than this
Mm-hmm.
that has been projected and people have envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
So we better figure it the fuck out now. Where we fit in, what we need to do to learn more about it
Mm-hmm.
so that we're prepared physically and mentally to battle what's coming in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a conspiracy theorist. I know these things as to be a fact. All right, I don't talk about things I don't know to be a fact. That's a different. Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Motherfucker, I never saw that one.
Yeah.
I want that too.
Oh my goodness.
Megan.
This one was a funny one. I like this one.
So there is a lot of this life that a lot of people do not know about, and if they did, they'd freak the fuck out. It's very horrifying to find out, especially when you're not searching for it on your own, but for it to be realized upon
Just
you.
dropped on you, kind of.
And then what do? You have to research. You can't talk about it. People think you're fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not fucking crazy. I know exactly how I feel. I know exactly what I went through. I have a right to be fucking angry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm left with having to deal with it. And the truth is now more and more and more people, movies are all talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
The songs we've been listening to our whole lives have had it laden in it, trying to open your eyes. So now they're going through the children.
Mm-hmm.
The children are all learning to meditate. Children are being raised in this when a lot of them don't understand what meditation really is.
Yeah.
It is a portal to something that you better be prepared for. It is not a joke. It is very real. There is an inner you, an inner universe. You do have a third eye. You can see shit if you work on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing. It has to do with vibrations and sound vibrations especially. They even changed our music. We used to have music that the chords were at a different hertz. I don't know the right words, so don't.
Hertz is the right word.
They were sound hertz. Okay, these things help you with healing. They help you with opening up your heart. They help you with forgiveness. They help you with physical. They help you deal with pain. All these vibrations help you deal with everything in your life, and they're each a different level. The same with the food you eat. Though they're the hertz, megahertz, or whatever the word is, they all have a vibrational level. Meats, fish, pure or organic vegetables, they're the best. Root vegetables. All of these, and then of course, red meats really have no benefit for your body. They're not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
They in fact they help feed on cancers and go the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
But dairy food, processed foods have no benefit for you. All these things are matter, but we don't give a fuck as a society. All right, we don't care. But when you look at other cultures and what they eat, how they live their life in a simplistic form, some of the Indian yogis that don't eat, some of them can walk in fire. They can A lot of people practice, what's it called? Inducing themselves into trances. I've been in those. Not on my own illusion, but I've been in them. I didn't know what was happening to me. All right. I've been involved in a lot of that stuff that I didn't know was happening, what was happening at the time. I know now what it was. So this world has huge awakening because there are people, especially the top elite, that are running this world, and they're wanting to control all of us, and they know all this stuff. All right, they already dabble in all this. The one way to be a wealthy person is to wish for it through meditation and through that witchery stuff. I don't know all the words, but it's a fact. That's like those dream boards and vision boards. What you focus on is what you're going to get out of life. If you focus on something you desire, eventually you will get it. Generally,
Well, it's usually like what is it? Do you think positive thoughts and you'll get positive results? Something like that is a saying or something.
yeah.
I don't know it right now. I had it on top of my head the other day.
No,
but
that is true. It's what you focus on. Now, I mean, sometimes you might not get it. You might not get $1 million, but money will come your way somehow if you do it right. And I don't like that kind of manipulation, but it is what it is. That's what the law of attraction is in this stuff. I don't want that stuff in my life. I'm not desperate for somebody, so I am not going to focus myself on somebody.
Yeah.
I made that mistake one time, but I did it unintentional. I didn't know I was doing it. That's the thing. I sincerely did it from my heart, but now I see. So the truth of the matter is, you have to make your life what you want it to be. You only get so long on this earth. So if you're going to sit around depressed and miserable, that's what you're going to get out of it. But if you can, through the depression and misery, change your life around a little bit the way you want it to be, a little at a time, then that will come to fruition. But you have to make the effort.
You have to start it.
You have to try.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people fall into religion for a kind of hope, like almost like a false hope? Some people, like how some people get lured into cults because some people will have no place to go, and then the cult will be there, and then
Yes. But I think people that fall into a cult are ignorant people. They're just emotionally ignorant people. If you have to have a need for that in your life. But usually it's because the person that's involved in the cult that is running it is a very charismatic person. The same with narcissism. It's the same principle as a narcissist. It's usually a narcissist. Narcissists are dangerous people. They're psychologically dangerous people because they know how to use their charismatic way to get you to not see the truth about themselves and to get you to follow them and love them using the pure nature of your own heart. And that is a very, very, very twisted problem.
Well, that's how Manson did all his shit. He just psychologically fucked everyone.
And Waco.
But
Manson dabbles in the bad shit.
Yeah, yes, Manson does that.
So he had them
that's what I mean.
In trances.
He literally
and hypnotized.
I
That's
know
why.
that. But the thing is, it's a lot to do with grooming as well when it comes to Manson and that kind of stuff.
It's conditioning and grooming.
Because he literally went out and looked for people who had nowhere to go and were lost in life, and then took them in, pretty much said, "I'm your daddy."
Like a father.
Yeah, and then
and preyed upon them.
Preyed upon them, exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a good person that did that. It's a narcissistic person.
Yeah.
Psycho. A psychopath. Psychopathism is a mental illness.
I believe that wholeheartedly as well, that it's a mental illness.
People thought it was. It is. It's a mental illness. You should feel sorry for them. Some of them are actually just want to be loved, but they can't wrap themselves around Uh,
It is because they've never had it.
they usually have had some bad shit that's happened in their life, and it breaks them inside. I know what it feels like to be a broken person, being abused by my mother so badly. Um, when you're a broken person, you thrive on looking for someone to replace that person. So, like, I always look for mother figures. I I always did. My father was awesome, so I never looked for a father figure. He was great, even though he fell short on some critical times in my life. I still felt that he's a good father. But my mother, I think she was mentally off, and I feel that the detachment from her was a hugely devastating thing for me. But I think it's what made me want to be a good mom. I think it's what made me a loving person, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully. And I think it was that mix of enough love for my father that I didn't completely snap and break into a worse person,
Yeah.
a mean person, a violent person, abusive person. I think if I had not had that extra love from my dad through that horrible time, that I would be a really not a good person right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thought on that. The fact is that narcissists look for people who are looking for somebody to love.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they always get the good ones. They always get the good people. Then they destroy them. And sometimes I don't even know that they're really doing it. So one thing about a narcissist is that they don't see the hurtfulness all the time that they're doing because it's a natural way of life for them. And then some use gaslighting to turn it around and make you the bad person. And if you're just a broken enough person, you believe it because that moment you're entranced by this person who has such charisma and who you want to love so bad because you can see they need love. And then they fuck you badly. And you're left so fucked up and hurt that it's hard to get out of it. It's hard to even want to make an effort. That's the truth. It is. It is a horrible situation.
With this sickness going around, I know one of the first things you were telling me that you felt bad for the people who were stuck in quarantine with their situations. Do you have any sense to put in on that?
There are a
Or
lot
to
of
help those people who are in those situations
well,
right now?
unfortunately, there's a lot of children that are now stuck in a home that were going to school, which is my situation. I wanted to be everywhere but home. So I did every program I could think of in school so that I would not have to be being abused at home. There's a lot of children right now in this world who are being put in a situation of child molestation and severe abuse, especially with the drug situation being as bad as it is, where they would not be at home with their parents who are doing drugs. They're at school, and their teachers are providing a lot of the necessary things for them. Now they're stuck at home. And the teachers are feeling this, not just food wise, but emotional support, hygienic support. A lot of these kids are taken care of by their teachers. A lot of people don't realize that.
Mhm.
So for right now, the teachers are really feeling like horrible because they know that a lot of students that were already in a bad situation, even when they're going to school most of the day, are now stuck in a horrifying situation,
Yeah.
especially with child molestation. It's not a good thing. This has been this has been devastating for a lot of people.
You know, you can tell, you see the people reaching out. I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook and everything of people reaching out and posting their situations so they could try and get help, and how people have been making even specific hotlines just so people can get help. I think it's really encouraging and good to see.
Mm.
I know
Well,
it's probably still hard for all those people to get themselves out of those situations.
if you want a good eye opener, look at Jerry Brooks, the principal. He's a teacher and principal. He's a funny guy, but he's also bringing light to the situation. He goes around and gives care packages and goes to these families every day. On top of doing the Skype and all the teacher reviews, but as a principal, he's physically going to these households and trying to still be of help to these children in whatever way he can, whether it be bringing them lunch, breakfast, bringing them little presents, trying to help the parents teach them, because he knows that these kids, and he also knows that the teachers are devastated knowing that these kids are being put in a terrible situation. And it's true. I know for a fact how I felt. And I I was abused by a normal family, a normal person. You got spray.
Anyway, yeah.
Do you have
Like,
a tissue?
hold on, I don't actually. Tyler, do we have any more paper towels by chance? I don't know either. But with your dad coming in the topic, since they obviously had differing religious views, what were some political views you think were memorable in your house at the time when you were younger?
My dad was a Republican, and I remember as a little girl, my first time being babysat was when my dad and mom went to the governor ball when Ronald Reagan became governor of California. My dad was on PBS during the debates. He loved going to that and standing up and asking questions and being part of that. And we'd see him on TV. This was in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he really enjoyed that.
Okay.
And then I saw my father. He was a Republican, and I thought I was a Republican until I grew up and realized I'm not a Republican at all. I'm a Democrat. I'm not even a Democrat. I'm a socialist Democrat. So I don't care if anyone likes it or don't. I believe in that little slice of socialism next to democracy, not being a socialist. And the retards want to say shit like that. Oh, look at them Dems and those socialists. They want everything free. No, I want to pay for it with my taxes and have everyone be equal, including our government. But anyway, so yes, I was raised with my parents being Republican. Sorry, they were very proud of it.
Okay.
And I grew up not giving a shit about politics until now.
Okay.
Then but there was one other thing I wanted to say, but anyway, yeah, they were Democrats.
Okay. And also,
I mean, Republicans. They were.
Tell me about that plaque they had on their wall about with Kennedy and all that. You told me about it the other night. I wanted to bring that up just because it's a fun conversation to have. And I did do some research on it. I know that like with the secretary's name was different, and I know some things were different with this conspiracy theory. But I know you said that your parents had a plaque of it, which I thought was very interesting to know that at that time.
My parents had a plaque on the wall.
And when was the time of this as well? Back in.
They got the plaque in the 70s when they realized when they realized the similarities.
Okay.
There's big similarities between Abraham Lincoln and Kennedy. And if you look, I don't want to go through it, but if you guys look it up, there is similarities between, like some serious similarities. One worth looking at. It's a big deal.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute bathroom break, everyone. But we're done with this one, so.
I love that. Damn it. I want to take all of them.
I know.
You're never gonna get to sell any.
Oh my god.
Am I clear to go?
Yeah, you're clear to go.
I'm right
Yeah,
back.
take a quick bathroom break, everyone. So I'm gonna still be painting, but we're just gonna take a break on the talking. You can get by, right, Mama? Oh, I'm gonna take this minute to relax as well. Oh goodness. Rest my arms. Uh-oh. It's all good. We'll fix it.
No. Let me get your cat.
Coming.
I got it.
Will you plug that fan back in, please? It is hot. My god. Okay, we're actually gonna be working on some Looney Tunes stoner painting right now. I don't know who I want to do yet. I have a whole list from my friend who's obsessed with Looney Tunes and I always loved them. He was saying he wants to see them smoking because this gave him inspiration for it. So I have a whole list I gotta look at of characters. Oh my. I'm still falling for you.
Oh boy. You have to knock through the skull. Yeah, I thought you meant.
My mother wants to abuse my cat.
What?
I was saying my mother wants to abuse my cat.
Can you empty this?
Yes. One second. Okay, there we go. Whoop whoop. Puff puff pass. Yep, yeah. Alrighty. So Next question. What was the biggest historical event you remember, like the first time? Okay. What is the first big historical event you remember as a kid? Like learning about and actually having thoughts about.
When the shuttle,
When the shuttle blew up?
yes.
Okay. And how did you feel about that?
I was confused about it, but I didn't like space, so I didn't really care. It was something that when it happened that day, they brought in a TV into our classroom,
Mhm.
and we saw it, but that's all I remember.
Okay.
I was scared of space, just like I don't like underwater stuff, so
I'm scared of.
I didn't really, that's all I remember. But
Uh-huh.
it was, I remember it. Okay, so
Okay.
it was impactful.
Yeah.
I remember the Iran controversy where the Iranian, where I believe it was Iran,
Mhm.
our men were over there for a long period of time being abused, and they were bringing them home just like a POW camps in Vietnam in World War II. It was terrible. I also then remember my sister going over. I guess the biggest one that was for me was my sister going to the Iraq War,
Okay.
because if you think about it, we did not have cell phones.
Mhm.
Back then, it was 10 cents a minute. In fact, it wasn't even really 10 cents. It was starting to be 10 cents a minute. So long distance phone calls were expensive, especially overseas.
Okay.
When my sister went into the war, we didn't get phone calls from her or emails. There was none of that. We didn't have computers. So you had to wait.
Yeah.
And you had to watch the news to see what was going on. So every day, and just like you see people selling masks and everything now, we didn't sell shit. We made it and gave it away. We made yellow ribbons. I used to make plastic canvas yellow ribbons. I still had one. If I don't, I think it got lost in the shed, but I had one that I had made that I wore. And we had to wait for their one phone call that they would have to wait in line. And it wasn't until the war was over. So we were horrified.
Mhm.
All right. We had to watch the news and just wait. She would send letter once the war ended, then she was sending letters, and then she'd get to call once a month or something like that. It was terrible. It was horrifying. And we pen palled. I pen palled on certain army soldiers. My company, I worked for Pitt Printing at the time,
Mhm.
and my boss picked one person that didn't have any relatives, and we pen palled him, and then gave him a big welcome home. He flew into Orlando, and we gave him a big party.
That sounds nice.
It was beautiful. And my sister got to come home. And my parents kind of felt like shit because my mom had my sister go into the National Guard to get an education. She's never been away from home. She goes into basic training. And then after basic training, she goes to Texas for some schooling.
Mhm.
And a month or two into that, she gets deployed to Iraq in a huge chemical war.
Mhm.
A war.
Yeah.
And it messed her all up. It horrified her and messed her up physically and emotionally forever. So that was the first impactful thing. Then the next thing was 9/11.
What happened that day?
Your dad was homesick. I was sick. We were sitting on the couch watching the TV, and granddad come over or something. And I was on the phone with one of my coworkers. I was working, but I was sick. But I worked at home, so I was on the phone with one of my coworkers, Christine Benson, and I want to say granddad come over. I was thinking granny, but I know it was
Mhm.
after she died, so it was granddad must have come over. But Anyways, I don't know if it was on the television or what alerted us. We turned the station and we start seeing all these people jumping out of the fucking, like, that's what the first thing I saw of this was people jumping out of the windows of those high rise, huge buildings. It was horrifying. And I just couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. I was really sick, but I'll never forget it.
Well, I mean, no one really can.
It was terrible. But when you realize that it's potentially the United States was involved in all that, some people want to say, if you do a lot of research, some people will say that the United States had that happen to avoid a bigger thing happening with another country that would have caused us a huge war. So this was a deflection or got us started in a war that would have avoided the worst scenario. I don't know if that's true or not, but I now don't put anything past the government. They're not here for us. We do not have a democracy anymore. And even though I do not believe in militia and all that, I do believe that we as citizens should be more self-sufficient, food-wise, meaning gardening and all that. And I believe that you can't have it both ways. You can't have a police system and our own personal protection. It's got to be, I think it has to be one or the other. It's not working out. And I think I want to defend my family and bear arms and do these things, but I just don't want it to be done with assault rifles. But the way realizing the world and the government is the way it is, I'm changing my views a little bit on some things. I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Mhm.
But I am there with regards to taking care of my family.
Okay.
I firmly believe that we should be living on a compound right now. I call it a compound. It's my compound. But living on our property all together, helping each other, being self-sufficient, and not relying on money very much. Because money is
What,
just
my love?
not a good thing.
What?
Is he hungry?
No. He just likes attention.
He sure is hot.
But,
Has he been fed?
yes, he has been fed. But with, okay, how about this? Okay, give me the line of presidencies you remember going through, and your opinions on them from, like, when you were born and what you knew. And how life was with them as president.
Well, the one president I remember life with that I enjoyed was Jimmy Carter. That was a time of my life that, as far as a president is concerned, I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With regards to the rest of them, I never give a shit about them. All I knew was what was on television, what we were being taught in school. So I remember the Iran controversy. I remember the Gulf War. I remember these things. And I wasn't really interested in the presidents.
Mm-hmm.
So all I know is I was born. Okay, my cousin was born on the day John F. Kennedy was killed by my dad's twin sister. I was born 5 years later, so that day always resonates. His death. So John F. Kennedy has always been strong in my heart, and he was endeared by the people and by the world. And what I really resonate with regarding presidencies is how the media reacted to them. Back in the 70s and 80s and before, there was media handled news differently. they didn't do all this bullshit kind of news where they were dogging people and calling people out and having a political bias as badly, or maybe I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
What I saw was Walter Cronkite or Dan Rather or these people, and I didn't see them necessarily. I don't know if they did or didn't, but I don't believe they did put their own spin on things, but actually just report it as it was.
Mhm.
Okay? So, like, everyone knew that John F. Kennedy was a philanderer, but it wasn't something that was brought out in the news.
Mhm.
They didn't disrespect the president. Now, I'm not going to say anything about Trump because he's a fucking soft-brained idiot. So he deserves every bit of fucking bad media he gets because he's a just pure idiot. But prior to him, like, I didn't believe that that shit was such a big deal with Clinton. So, but that's because I wasn't political.
Mhm.
Maybe it was an embarrassment or whatever. But you don't think other people got their dicks sucked?
Yeah.
You don't think that the other presidents have had? I mean, it's a known fact that senator people of higher up, political, not just political, but I'll use since you asked me, um, are the ones that do get the elite call girls and the do some bad shit, bad stuff, sexually and because their jobs are, so they say, it's because their jobs are stressful. I find that's just bullshit anyway. They're fucking people. And I think sex should be kept out of it unless you're like fucking a baby.
Yeah.
Sex should be kept out of it. But the news, the way the news is and the way people are these days, and everyone having cell phones and everyone wanting to call people out, that is what's changed. Back from what I remember as a young person, when you watched the news at night and you relied upon it in a respectful way. Everybody watched it, everybody believed in it,
Mhm.
and they relied on it. The Washington Post, the New York Times, these people too. I don't have an educated frame of mind on those because I was young. So I'm going by what I've learned now. But that's what I see, the change in media. The fact that Trump twitters like a fucking schoolgirl is humiliating and embarrassing to the United States. There's a million things about him that's ridiculous. But these things are what I find a result of the lifestyle and world that we live in now. Who doesn't have their phone in their hand 24 hours a day? I almost hit 2 people today because they were walking and not looking where they were going and with their phone in their hand
Mhm.
in the parking lot. Not only that, I saw a person washing their car the other day. An older guy,
Mhm.
hand in his phone in his hand, phone in his left hand, washing his car with the right hand. How the fuck do you wash your car without looking at it?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't see hardly any person walking across the street that doesn't have a phone looking at it. Looking at it. What's wrong with that? I find lots of things wrong with that.
Yeah.
I do not believe in the phone. I have it because it's the way everyone communicates because we don't have a house phone anymore. But my soon way of life is going to be without this phone. When I get my stereo up and running, when we get a house phone again, then the bye-bye phone. It is a fucking waste of time and waste of life. There are beautiful things about the internet, being able to connect with relatives and being able to
Mhm.
look up patterns and your interests and educate yourself on a lot of things. Those parts are beautiful. But the addictive parts and the instantaneous of it
Mhm.
is very hurting a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
Those are the parts I don't like. I don't like it when someone tells me in this day and age, well, what if there's an emergency? Really? What if there's an emergency?
Mhm.
Live in fucking northern Wisconsin in the middle of the woods with only a house phone and tell me that, where there's no 911 And they live just fine. When there's an emergency, they rush to the emergency room. When there's an emergency with their vet, they have to go 30, 40, 50 miles to the vet, but they do it. That's just how life is. This is not normal life.
Mhm.
Yes, it's convenient, but I don't want to hear that because that's not a reason to have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Not to me.
Okay. And your viewpoint on cell phones, like, I remember you telling me when you were younger how you had typing classes and all this kind of stuff. Do you believe like computers are as corrupting as cell phones, or not as much?
Yes, they are. Look at me. One of the reasons I stayed fat is because I got addicted to playing games on the computer. Because it's so highly stimulating. It's more stimulation you'll ever get in your fucking life.
Mhm.
When you think about normal stimulation in your life, think of it as what is before computers. What would be the most stimulating thing that would event that would happen in your life? Name a few.
Um,
That would get your pheromone, your uh shit. What's the vibes in your brain? You know, not pheromones. Your
pineal gland.
no, your serotonin going and
Serotonin,
your good shit that makes you happy.
Yeah.
What is some of the most best things in your life that would happen naturally that would give you that feeling without any stimulant? No drugs, no drinking, no computer. Well, it would be graduating high school, getting your first kiss,
First fuck.
having going to college, getting married, having a baby. These things would be the heightened best happiness you could have. All right, now take a computer. The stimulation it gives you enhances that in your brain by 500 knots. So now anything you do is going to be boring and not have any
Substance.
right. And that's just a fucking fact. These kids go to school and they're sitting in a boring fucking class learning what we used to do, which was having to sit there, having to learn it. It didn't give a fuck if we liked it or didn't like it. And it didn't matter if we were bored. You fucking did it. These kids, teachers have 25 kids all on a different highly stimulated level, even on the autistic stream. And they've got to figure out how to get them to rein it back and be able to learn anything. And it is horribly hard because they're so stimulated at home by their parents and by computers.
Yeah.
That's a fact. All right. And it is damaging to them. And I am not a hypocrite. I firmly, when I got my computer.
Hello, welcome. Sorry, we're in the middle of a discussion. Continue.
When I found my games on the computer, I was so addicted that I planned everything around them. I did all my housework around them. I did your homeschooling around them. I just couldn't wait. And then it got so bad, and I got so excited about it that I would have 2 or 3 or 4 Facebook accounts just so I could play the games, have more friends, and give myself more stuff on my games. My sister can't even play this shit no more. She did these fish games to the point of exhaustion. And she couldn't function. Because that's the kind of stimulation that is just not normal for us.
Mm-hmm.
These kids these days, it is their constant stimulation from babyhood on. They
freak out over phones.
They give the baby computerized things so that they can't even sit still unless they're being entertained by it. And it hurts me to see that because it's much better off to be able to sit and relax and sit and play cars and entertain yourself, play Barbies and entertain yourself. And that's not at all what some of the children can do. They cannot even possibly do that.
Yeah.
They just can't. They can't sit still. When we drove in a car, we puked all the time. But when we drove in a car, we sat in the car. Now, our parents gave us little crossword puzzles and a lot of puzzle books,
Mhm.
and reading books, but they just make us puke. But they didn't know that. So we were
Didn't
sick
know
all the
that.
time. We were just sick all the time. But the truth of the matter is, um, those are the things I learned. Crossword puzzles. I learned to search a word, search a number, fill-ins at a very young age. With 7 years old, my great aunt, my grandfather's sister, taught me about fill-ins. I was so excited. They taught me how to make. My aunt taught me how to do plastic canvas at 6 and 7. My grandma taught me how to quilt at 12. These are things that, and my mother taught me to crochet and do macrame at 6 and 7 years old. I was even knitting. These are things that parents did that I think were quality.
Mhm.
My father had us helping him in his workshop. He told us to be self-sufficient, independent women and to take courses that weren't just geared for girls, but for anyone, like shop class. And I was proud to do those things. And that's not how the kids these days are. It's it's just different. And I
Well,
feel
it's
sorry for
also
them.
not to be like, oh, it's harder in my generation. It's not at all. I'm just saying, with some things in life, like sometimes we have to adapt those electronical sides because it's how you can make money now. Like if you're not electronical based nowadays, it's
But
crazy.
that part is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I find computers. That's the only reason why I keep my Facebook is because Sweeties from the Far
Wow. That was a good one. Sweeties from the Heart. Here's a shout out to Sweeties from the Heart.
Sweeties from the Heart is attached to it, and I can't have that page without it. And I'm going to soon be using it since I'll be taking care of Mackenzie more. I can focus on the things I enjoy doing and selling some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
as well as she's going to be collaborating with my business as well.
Yeah.
So that we're going to be making mass productions of things. For her stuff, it's going to be like my stuff, as you can see, it's obviously just art and canvas based, whereas hers is going to be more food, a home economic kind of things, decorations, crafts, that kind of thing. We're going to try and get more open with that kind of stuff, and I'll, update you guys as that happens because, it's going to be a long time before we actually get everything fully set up and fully together as a business.
All I know is that I was born in 1968, and I was up and coming as a little girl in the 70s. And I remember laying in the sun with my girlfriend listening to the Bert and Ernie radio I had. I listened to albums on my Tigger. I had a piano. I took care of my toys. I remember having nice things. I remember having a lot of quality time to do nothing. Back then, your parents made you go outside and play. And it was safer. I used to ride the block. We were outside constantly. My mother made us go outside and would lock the door if we came in too much. You did your chores, they were done, and you were out for the day. Okay, you came in for lunch, you went back out. You did. We didn't. My mother didn't have a lot of laundry because back then you wore only certain clothes for play. She didn't wash them all. You just didn't get a lot of dirty. She'd get mad, but
you'd have to worry about them getting mad pretty much.
But your school clothes, they got hung back up. They weren't on the floor. They weren't put in the laundry. They were hung back up if they weren't dirty. And you ate at the table. There was a lifestyle that worked. And a lot of parents can't get that together these days.
Yeah.
They have so many material things they can't take care of it. Parents are on the verge of poverty all the time, so they're spoiling their kids. It's like they're almost visiting parents, is what it feels like. Some kids, some of these young people these days have babies, and the way they live their life, it's as though they're a parent having the kids for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
instead of feeling comfortable in their home, taking care of their home, and helping the kids and having the kids entertain themselves. I see parents spending all their time entertaining the kids.
Well, also, like, I also think it has to do with my
And that is
generation and kind of
awful.
just, like, stucking with the whole sexual condoms kind of stuff. We're not really good. I'm not pregnant.
No, but they're
But
not
my
planning children. They
generation
just
is not
pop
very
out
good with
babies and
that,
expect the
yeah.
government to help them. Everyone thinks that the government should give them a piece of something because they've had a baby. And I just disagree with that 100%.
And also, this isn't a jab at people who are on, like, support for having a
is.
baby and all this stuff.
It is to me. I'm jabbing them.
No, well, I'm not saying that to all people, because not all people are in it for
Right.
that reason.
If you've just gotten a divorce, if your spouse has died and you come into financial situation, if you've lost your job temporarily, you get assistance. You don't live on it. And you don't expect it every time you have a fucking baby.
Mhm.
Every child does not mean the government has to give you food stamps and WIC.
Yeah.
You don't need. That is not what it's there for, and that's why it's abused. Just because you're having pregnant and you qualify doesn't mean you get it. It's
Yeah.
meant for if you need it, not just because you qualify.
Yes.
You got to have some pride. Nobody has pride. Do you see pride in your friends and other people? Now I've lost my pride temporarily in my situation. I'm trying to get it back. But do you see what I'm saying? That
I see more pride in my friends than I ever have in myself. That makes sense.
Okay. So, but do you see pride overall in our nation with the young people?
Oh no, no.
No.
I
They're not
feel
proud to have good
even-
credit. They
even
don't make an
people
effort to have
know
good
it's-
credit. They don't make an effort to stay at a job and have a goal of having a home and then having children. They just have babies. Then they have to deal with that situation. Now, I'm not making fun of anyone.
I know.
This is just a fucking fact. All right?
Mhm.
I planned my kids. That's why I was married for 8 years. I had my first one. Then we planned the second one. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying because I got pregnant first 3 months. First 3 months I was here with my husband. I got pregnant immediately. So I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I was immature, but that's the point. I think people are immature. The people are way more mature and also immature at the same time than we were. There's a lot of young people, 18, 19, 20, that are way more mature than I was at 18. But they're also way more mature up into their 20s than I ever was. And I was pretty fucking damaged, let me tell you. I was immature. But for the most part, the people around me were mature. All right? So, especially the generation before me, the goal was to have good credit, to be able to get a car,
have a good family,
to have a good job,
have a home.
to have a home. That is not what's happening. Kids are staying with their parents because they don't make enough and they don't have enough pride in my heart. I don't, and maybe it's the parents too. I think us parents love our kids so much that we do way too much for them. We hurt on a level for them that our parents did not hurt for us. They raised us to be more independent and self than we, like I do with y'all. Because I adore you guys so much more than I think my parents adored me.
Yeah.
It's on a not healthy level. The truth is. I'm being honest. I'm not knocking anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to say, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm in a group called Amazon Angels. And last night, someone joined who has a 2-year-old. No. Okay. This is what she writes. Hi, I'm new. I'm newly divorced. I'm newly single. I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and I'm pregnant with a Thanksgiving baby.
Oh my.
But you're coming in Amazon Angels, which is where we all are gifting other people. But you know doggone well this person isn't gifting shit. She ain't got no money.
Mm-hmm.
So now what do you want me to do? Feel sorry for you and gift to you? Listen, I am critical of that because everyone coming into that group should feel the same way. But you get the people that are users. They come in, they want to give their sob story to get a lot of gifts, then they never return it. All right? And I believe that that should be paid forward. I ain't got money. I've spent so much money in that group. And certain people, yeah, people give back, but there's a lot of people that are getting a lot and they're never posting. No one's ever posting on what they've given.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to say. Just like I'm in another group, Economy of Love. This just shows you the twisted, psych, fucked up brains some people have. Economy of Love is a place where you can't sell anything. It has to be given. And then the person can pick it up. Well, so you post what you need. So, like, I've gifted Kotex to people, tampons, because it's 12 o'clock at night. Their husband has the car, or their car is broke down, and they have no way of going and getting any. Does anyone have a couple Kotex? I'm in trouble. Okay, no problem. I'll drive it over there. It's a pleasure. There's people that their husband hurt his back and been out of work for a week. And so they need diapers. Well, I know what that feels like. Diapers are expensive. So I share and get diapers for them. But then you have these people that post this. They've just joined. I have a 1-year-old whose birthday's coming up in 2 weeks, and I want to give her a Frozen themed birthday party. So I need a Frozen cake, themed cake. I need streamers and cups and plates. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. And I got out of that. I blasted them. You're fucking right, I did. I blasted the whole group. I didn't blast the person, but I made sure they understood. Are you kidding me? This is a need? Get out of here.
Yeah.
Just like when people, they come on it knowing it's a site where people are giving things away. So they move into an apartment and they don't have anything. So they all of a sudden they're posting, I need curtains. I need it. This is all in one post. I need curtains. I need a microwave. I need coffee tables and I need bed. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you get a goddamn apartment if you don't have nothing to fucking put in it? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And you think that we got to give it to you now? I'm sorry. Now, if you say, God, I got a bed, I got a mattress from a friend and it had bed bugs. I had to get rid of it, but I can't afford a new mattress. I can relate to that. Fuck it, I'll try to help give him a mattress. But I'm not giving your goddamn 1-year-old who doesn't know nothing a fucking Frozen birthday party.
Because you want it.
You fucking ludicrous fucking imbecile. I'm sorry. Can you see how I could get upset about it?
Yes, I can see how you get upset.
And you see these posts like that all the time. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This person's house burnt down and they got 3 children and they are displaced and you need a microwave. You don't need a microwave, believe it or not. Nobody in the universe needs a microwave. Nobody. If we never even had sold another microwave in the world would still be a good. In fact, it would be a better place because microwave is bad for you. Okay, so let's just put it all in perspective. But if you need tampons, that's a fucking, or toilet paper in the middle of the night, that's a need.
Yeah, that's a necessity.
So you can see how I can get upset about things.
Yeah.
Because I have and I don't think I'm old school. I think I'm just right on. So, and I get very upset about it because I like that people have the gall.
I know.
The gall to even ask for it.
So, we're getting close to our time. The only reason why I'm cutting it somewhat now is because I know we will go on and on. So, it's already almost 10 o'clock. So, I wanted to cut this off and thank you everyone for joining and listening. And this will be posted on my YouTube account at Blitzbrush. So, if you didn't get to catch all of it here on my YouNow, you can definitely go over to YouTube and catch it on there. It should be recorded for your guys' pleasure. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Eye Opener, the Heart Opener. And please go check out Blitzbrush on Facebook as well as Sweeties from the Heart on Facebook. because we both have wonderful things to offer, and we're both trying to get our businesses up and just try and make happier lives for ourselves and get our train back on the tracks. So thank you guys again for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Your way.